out of the Western Conference, which of these three teams do you consider the most dangerous? And this could be a trick question, but I'm going to give you the three teams. The Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, or the Houston Fighting Emays Rockets?
Warriors, Clippers, Fighting Emays. Oh, man. So I like the Rockets' feistiness. Conceivably, you defense wins championships, right? But, I'm not ready to kind of endorse them as being the next level. Listen, I'm West Coast, and I see one of these teams, even though I get to LA a lot, I see the Warriors a lot more than the other two teams. And, I know that the hot streak they had when they got Jimmy Butler, they've had a few issues since then, Steph being hurt. It's kind of the cop-out answer. I'm going to go with the Warriors because I've seen them be dangerous. I am a believer in Jimmy, the basketball player. I just am. And I think that, if you talk about playoff basketball, when, historically speaking, it really, the through line between star power and then having that guy to going farther than the teams that don't have that guy is kind of as old as time. It's a proven fact. So like Jimmy combined with motivated Steph and Draymond, if they are healthy, Steph's been dealing with stuff lately. I really like what I've seen out of them. The other two teams, to me, you want to give them, and this is not even going to sound condescending, but like the smaller trophy for like doing more than anybody ever thought. Houston's got a long runway. They could go out in the first round and still feel great about the year they've had, even though I know Ime would laugh at that idea. But they're going to try to, look at what they have this summer and take it to the next level. The Clippers, to lose Paul George intentionally, by the way, like to decide that was not wise to continue partnering with Paul and then to build the roster the way they have, with Ty Lue doing an incredible job, Jeff Van Gundy leading the defense that's been remarkable. Like a lot of great stuff with those two teams, but as far as who I think could actually, slay a giant or two in the playoffs, I think it's the Warriors, which is a hell of a thing to say because they're supposed to be the giant, right? But they're not. They're not the giant anymore. They're trying to be the giant slayer.
It's a weird thing because you could be a 9th seed or 8th seed and be right on the doorstep of 50 games. Like that's just what the Western Conference is, especially when you have teams bringing up the rear that you're just beating up on. And there's a team at the top in Oklahoma City that's just beating up on you. Like there's not a lot of, 54, 55, 56 win teams that are kind of in that in-between space. It's either you're going to be the 3rd seed and winning 53 and then being an 8th seed and winning 49. Like there's not much separation. Ultimately, that's going to happen. The Clippers are fascinating to me because Kawhi in his last, I think 16 games or so, once again, small sample size, right? 25 a night, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2 steals on a 51, 44, 81 slash line. Like, I think we make fun of Kawhi Leonard because he keeps getting hurt. But he keeps coming back. Like, that's the thing. He winds up repeatedly coming back from knee injuries, ankle injuries, the hamstring, and not necessarily coming back better than ever. But usually these injuries take like a cumulative sort of negative effect on guys. And even though he doesn't play as many games and he'll probably never play a full season, the fact that he's this good leading into the playoffs, that would scare the living daylights out of me. I would not want to play the Clippers of Tyronn Lue, who I think is a top 3 coach in basketball, and Kawhi Leonard, who I just think is a cyborg, in a series where they have nothing to lose. I don't know if they're the answer to the question.
No, I completely agree.
I just fear them.
No, I agree. Well, and we're also like, that's one of those where I think the way we talk about the Clippers, it's in a weird phase right now because, we thought that the Kawhi, Paul George iteration was going to be legitimate title contenders. They obviously went through a lot, never got it to that place. Now we don't even know. I mean, for one, people have just forgotten about James Harden. They just don't pay attention to what he does. He's had a really strong year. I told someone recently, it's interesting if you talk about, the way that we celebrate Steph and LeBron and players like that, right? Like, and the context being, look at what they're doing at their age. Like James is in that discussion, but because he's never gotten the ring and because, you know, the conversation around him has always just been a little bit different, he doesn't get that treatment. But he's had a really good year. So I feel like
he's carried them until Kawhi got there. Him and Norman Powell offensively have carried that ball club until Kawhi got back.
And he's just been a pro. You know what I mean? Like he's gotten there and made it happen. If I would have told you last summer, you know, hey, remove PG from the equation. You know, what do you think this thing looks like? You know, you probably wouldn't think they'd be where they are right now. So no, they've had a really good year. We just don't watch closely enough, I think.
Yeah, I think the answer, like you said, is Golden State. I think the sneaky answer is the Clippers. And I think the Rockets, I would not be surprised if they blew the doors off of whoever they played in round one as a second seed. Like, finishing the season strong means something to me. And they blew the doors off of the Phoenix Suns last night, who is going to be a story for another day, right? But they are ornery. I like teams that they toe the line between, man, are they going to crash out or are they just tough enough? And I think Houston, when you look at what Ime Udoka has done with Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, and when Amen Thompson decides that I'm the best player on this team, that's going to be the day when the Houston Rockets elevate themselves to a Oklahoma City level conversation. But as of right now, I don't want to play them. Like, they don't have a finisher, but they have a lot of guys who can make plays. And that, to me, makes them dangerous in a playoff setting because you can't zero in on one. The problem is for Houston, they can't zero in on one either.
Yeah, I mean, 12 wins in the last 13 games. Don't overlook the Ime factor. He is. I wish Ime, he would never. Excuse me. He would never do this. I wish he would let. I want all the cameras in the locker room going into the playoffs because his messaging and his intensity and whatever different ways that he chooses to motivate his team, they're going to be at a next level because Ime, you know, he's not going to talk about this stuff, but like it is just like essentially 5 minutes ago, you know, when he took a team to the finals and then had everything that happened in Boston. We know that when he got to Houston, he wanted to accelerate the timeline. We know, you know, that he is just absolutely hungry to get back to that stage. You know, I wrote a thing earlier this year, Vinnie, about how, like, to give people an idea of the way Ime rolls, he had done a video where he took all the different fisticuffs that the Rockets had been a part of last season, all the different times that they got into fights and arguments. Like, he put this thing on a whole like WWE montage. And that was part of his preseason presentation to his team about this is who we are. And that's in September. You know what I mean? So fast forward to April, he's going to be ready to roll. So they might be the ones who make you and I look silly for, you know, for talking about the more known commodities being more dangerous. I could see Houston making a deep run. The other thing that does always get my attention is, you know, the Warriors, they beat OKC 2 out of 3 times this year. And whether that's, you know, this is a fair to feel this way or not, I feel like they're one of the few teams in the West that if they got OKC would just be like, all right, let's go. Like, we're not afraid of this team, you know. I think that would be wild to watch. I don't think
anybody's afraid of them, right? Yeah. And not only in a disrespectful way, like, you cannot fear them and they can still go out there and kick your ass. You know, but I don't think there's this intimidation factor with them. Like, there's not going to be intimidation until you do it, until you beat them.
Same thing with Houston, too. Like, the youth, and I just think, I kind of love how you have the old heads trying to hang on who would love nothing more than to, you know, to push these young guys back that have higher seeded teams. But no, I agree. People aren't afraid.